politics for the longest time, I know. But at the heart of politics is every activity in the nation. And so every time we're talking politics, we are thinking about getting clean politics for purposes of making sure that the country is driven and steered into the right direction. And when you say into the right direction, then we understand the numerous other matters that need to be addressed for us to have it right. And so as we get into this conversation of siasa, it's also important that we shift gears and look at the housing aspect. As I said, later on we'll also be getting into the question of health. But Francis Mbuthia, who's the CEO, Fanik Villa Properties, is with us this morning as we talk about investment in land. Very, very important. And Francis, karibu sana. Asante for creating time. I know the people who are in the real estate world and the investment of land would really want to understand what would be the next government, what do they have in store for us, just like we look forward to hear what the budgets would be like and whether they favor our various sectors. I think at this very moment it's important that we all understand how our sectors will be looked into, and especially when we have a transition to a new government. So just what exactly does Fanik Villa Properties do before we get into the conversation?
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Francis Mbuthia, CEO of Fanik Villa Properties. Fanik Villa Properties is a real estate company. Mostly we deal in property management, sale, and also sub of consultation. That's basically what we do. Okay. But majoring in agency. All right. That is renting, management, and sale of the properties.
All right. So in this case, you would not say that we're getting into the aspect of land and not getting into the aspect of construction.
Basically, we are not in construction as
yes.
We are basically in selling, renting, and management.
All right.
Yes.
So what is this property that you sell? Property that has been fixed by other, people who are in real estate, and so you sell on behalf of them?
We sell on behalf of the developers, mostly.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So when we're talking about housing and all that, and real estate, as we get into this very space, what would you make of it in terms of business so far, and especially at this point where we're coming from low moments occasioned by COVID-19 and then intense processes of politics as we have witnessed in the recent past, and the fact that we are here today and looking forward to see a better future?
Sure. Okay, for sure, COVID really affected real estate in a big way, such that there was low sales, tenants were not moving. Of course, people were fearing now to sell, because if you sell, at who are you going to sell to, and at what price? Yes. Because people are already fearing what are the consequences thereafter. Moving forward, real estate have improved even after the elections. People are never scared anymore to invest in any part of the country. That is why even if it is very slow at the moment, until at least when the politics will stabilize, things are working out. Yes.
All right. Okay, so in this space of renting of houses and also, consultancy and, acting as agents on behalf of those ones that have these entities, quite a delicate space,
very
must
delicate,
agree,
indeed.
and especially when it comes to the tenant,
yes.
and as well as the landladies and landlords and everything. You come in between, and the difficulties that we have witnessed, there's been a general feeling that sometimes the agents are really not so fair as to how they handle things, but as well they are the people who come in to bring the sanity, because it was also a very precarious space. What kind of picture do you paint of the growth of this very sector?
It is true, some client get scared of dealing with some agencies. So that is why as Fanik Villa Properties, we come in between with a bit of transparency in what we are doing to you as a tenant or the buyer. We are very clear that this property, we first of all authenticate the property. First of all, we authenticate that it is the right property, the ownership, and also so that it will make easier for you as a tenant or as the buyer. We authenticate the genuinity of the property. We make it so easy for you to either to buy or to rent it. And that is why we encourage many people, first of all, make sure your agent or your realtor have the correct information of the specific property, either you are buying or you are renting. So we capitalize mostly on authentication of the specific property. Yes.
Okay.
At least to bring sanity in the sector.
All right.
Yes.
And I have had a conversation with another agent before who says that the space of people getting to own homes now in totality is from this space of renting. That first of all, you get into this, you know, a home, and you are directed by agents, so to speak, and they get you into a flat.
Yes.
A flat that you now pay in form of rent. First of all, you probably present a down payment.
Yes.
And then one time large sum amount, and then slowly by slowly as you pay rent, then this eventually will end up being your own home. I don't know how open this space is and how much, you know, friendly it is for those ones then that are owners of these properties, and as well those ones that seek to eventually own these homes as their own.
Okay, it is true. It's called rent to own. You rent to own, that one falls under the low-cost housing. For big developers or for the big properties, it is very hard to use that route for rent to own, because the kind of money you're supposed to give up front is still a quite big chunk, for you to be able to sustain the payment within the given period of time. So it is there. It is possible, but it haven't really been embraced by many of the developers. But the clientele is there. Many people call us asking us, can we rent this to own this property? But there are not many. So I encourage our developers, maybe if they go that route, it make easier for the people to own property. Yes. Because it's flexible.
It is flexible.
Yes.
How streamlined is this space, your space, for instance, that, you know, as an agent, as the intermediary between the person who, you know, rents this, you know, space and the owner of the space? How streamlined is this such that legally you are protected, the client is protected, the owner of the apartment is protected, and therefore all these troubles that are normally witnessed or have been witnessed before then become a game of the past?
Okay, first of all, the company must be registered, of course, with the Minister of Lands. First of all, if you are registered, that means you are secure, both from the landlord and from the tenant, because you are entitled to commission from the landlord mostly, because they are the ones who are supposed to compensate you. So the Land Act, of course, protect you, so that you are legally entitled to be this payment. Yes, so it's although there is many agents outside here who are not registered, such that if, even if you sell a property to a certain client, if they don't pay you, you don't have a clear way that you can claim that money.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And so slowly by slowly, as you know, your entity gets into this space where you act as an intermediary, how much is expected of you to perhaps penetrate to a bigger space in that then in future perhaps we get to see you into the depth aspect of real estate?
Sure.
And with this then comes the question of land investment. With this then comes the question of real estate itself. Do you suppose there's a future of this space when you look at where we are as a country and where it is that we're headed, and especially with, you know, the change of governance?
Okay, yeah, the future is there. One, the population is growing, so and the land, of course, is not growing. So the future is there, and people are being forced now to go far away from towns to go and invest in land. Because land, the further you go, the cheaper is the land. The further you go from the capital, the cheaper is the land. So people are really going that direction, and we are looking forward for more flexible land policies, so that it will make it easier for us realtors to be able to, like now when you want to subdivide a property for small portions, there is so much which is required by the government. So if those policies are at least they are simplified, it make it easier for the developer or the realtor to do business, and hence the cost translates now to it is transferred to the buyer of the property. Because if it is difficult for me, automatically it will also be difficult to you as a buyer. So it discourages the buyers from buying the properties. Because you can go buy a property, haven't processed the title, it is so slow at the land office, so you don't have a title. Yes, you invested all the money, you bought the property, you surveyed the property, still don't have the title. You as a buyer, you don't want to invest in a property that doesn't have the document. So it's the government. You should simplify the policies, and also the conflict between the central government and the county government should be at least be looked at.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And so here we are, and like I started by saying, everyone is looking forward to see what the next government will be about.
Sure.
And then they'll be looking forward to see what the next year or the financial year would speak about this space of housing. Do you suppose Kenyans are really embracing this aspect of housing as would have been, you know, are suggested by the outgoing president, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta, in terms of us getting to a space where we have affordable housing? The country or the president or the government then would offer ways in which, in the long term, we get a majority of Kenyans are able to own these houses, something that was not well received. Was that a blessing in disguise? Could we have decided that we take that direction to guarantee us, you know, homes for a majority of Kenyans in future?
Of course, people were optimistic because it was anchored in the Big Four agenda. Of course, it didn't really come out clearly because it was really hardly hit by COVID-19. Yeah. Because what happened is when the COVID-19 hit the country or the world, there was the cost of construction material went high. Why? For example, now there was no enough supply of the material. Right. If it's scarce, of course the demand is high, the cost goes high. So that really affected the low-cost housing. Because if the material are expensive, there's no way I can be able to sell my property at a cheaper price or at an affordable price. So really it is all about the government to chip in and at least bring something to do with the technology. A technology which will simplify the cost, the cost of construction. Because really the problem is at the cost of the construction materials. Yes, because it's if you look at it, like in the last 2 years, it doubled. The construction is quite expensive.
It's extremely expensive.
Yes.
What will it take for us to come into a reasonable space in terms of the expenses? Because if this is the way people are going, but then again, it's a space that is extremely expensive, how can we even dream of a Kenya where people are really going to enjoy the space of affordable housing?
Okay. One, for a house to be affordable, it starts with the land. How much did I buy this property at? So if the government chip in and do the infrastructure, the infrastructure, water and electricity provision, that means me as a developer, I'll be able to go further outside the capital and buy a property at a cheaper price. If I buy a property at a cheaper price, automatically it will translate to me using less money now to come up with the house, and it will translate to the buyer. Yeah. So it is all about the government.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And do you think the government, or at least is there, and I know there are conversations that are ongoing between the government and the private sector. Sure. And you realize that in this space of real estate, land investment, it is the private sector that is largely on this side. These conversations that are ongoing, healthy enough, promising enough that in future, then the government will strongly work together in collaboration with the private sector for affordability to be achieved, for affordable housing to be accorded to the people. Okay, discussions are there, and the problem comes in now when it comes to implementation. And that is why, as in the private sector, we are hoping the coming government will walk the talk.
you know, we sit down and discuss in a boardroom, but when it comes to implementation, that's where the problem comes in. So still, the buck start with the government implementation.
Right.
Yes.
Implementation.
Yes.
The government is not committed. Do you see some essence of commitment in terms of that? You know, sometimes you could say implementation is not done, but at least there's that goodwill for such to happen, and especially when such programs like the affordable housing then are presented, which we all agree cannot be managed by the government, you know, alone. It would require the assistance of the private sector. That there's that there lacks implementation, but do you see some essence of goodwill? Yeah,
the goodwill is there, but slow. The good is there, but a bit slow.
Okay.
So, but we're hoping, coming the next government, things will at least hasten moving forward. Yes.
But how much is the sector pushing for the government to act as well? Because you see, it's one government that is handling a lot of things, that is handling different sectors, and therefore there needs to be that you know, push from this other side. Just how much?
Of course, the private sector is trying to push, but now the pressure now will come when the citizens who are the consumers of the products we have can't afford them.
Right.
Automatically, the government now you feel the pressure, and they'll take it up and implement.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's enlighten the people who are watching us this morning as to what it is that you do and your entity, but most importantly, as to what they should expect when dealing with agents. And this I say because the troubles that we have seen are not just directed to the tenants. Most of the times, even with those ones that are owners of properties, you see them fall out with agents. You see them, you know, bringing agents 1 month, 2 months before you know it, the agents are no longer working with this, you know, private owner or this owner of the of say a property. What goes into the arrangements and the agreements that are there when you want to have an agent managing your property?
Okay, one, you need to authenticate first if is a agency registered with the relevant authority.
Yeah,
that is very important for any owner of the property. Secondly, how competent is the agency? Because of course you can give your property to a certain agency. The property will be in the market for the longest time possible. So look at the competence, the legality if it's registered with the relevant authority, and also how competent is a company to deliver. So basically, those are the main things which you need, because you need result at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I don't need just an agency to know my property is managed by a certain company. I need result, and the result is getting a buyer, getting a tenant, and a good tenant, and a buyer which is genuine buyer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. A tricky one. You could get a genuine buyer.
Yes.
But most of the buyers will tell you that they have had terrible experiences in getting, you know, genuine sellers.
Genuine sellers.
And also as agents, sometimes you want to believe that you're working with a genuine person who is selling this land, who is selling this property. But then somewhere in between, you realize discrepancies. Somewhere in between, you realize some fishy businesses.
Yes.
What then do you do to make sure that there's proper due diligence for you to understand that you're dealing with the right person in terms of the one who's selling this property, and as well you are dealing with the right person who's a buyer?
Is a buyer. Now, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of energy we give it at authentication. You just don't call me and tell me I'm selling my property. I'll go ahead and ask for the document of ownership, which of course we authenticate with the relevant institutions in the country. Those are some of the first steps we take. Of course, we have the legal team, which also assists us in doing the same. So we don't just take the property and start marketing it. We make the authentication part of it, so that even if when we put the property in the market, we have confidence that if we secure a buyer is buying the right property. Yes.
Okay.
So authentication is key to our company. Yes.
So I come today, I am green, totally green.
Yes.
And I have been directed to you to guide me on how I get property, or to guide me on who's the best person to sell it to me. Where do we begin? when we're talking about due diligence, what are the spaces I would go to? And sometimes today we speak of, you know, digitization of the question of land. That is according to the land ministry that has begun right here in Nairobi. I'm sure there must be spaces where you tell me this is the office to knock.
Yes.
This is a space online to go to. This is the website to open. This is how you get to do due diligence and know that if I am a legit agent, because I mean we also have agents that really are not
bogus,
those ones that you can trust. So
Sure.
where do you begin, or where do I begin as a person who now envisions of getting property directed by the agent at hand?
Okay, for example, now if you're a first-time buyer,
Yeah.
you come to our office. We take you through the procedure.
Is it the point? Is this the point where we should know where your office is?
Yeah.
Where is your office?
Our offices are in Halinga, Marcus Garvey Road on Marcus Garden apartments.
All right.
That's where our offices are.
All right.
So assume now you are the first-time buyer. You check into our office. First things, we ask you some questions, of course, to understand you first, because of course you are working with a budget. So we need to understand which budget you are working with. Then from there, we highlight to you what properties we have in which areas.
Yeah.
Then from there, of course, you need to advise you or connect you with the relevant institution for financial assistance. That is, if you want to buy through a mortgage or something like that. So we assist you through the process. Do the process such that you feel at ease dealing with us and buying that property. Yes.
All right. Okay, and so these processes then outrightly you would take someone through, becomes easy for them to trust you, as well as trust these other ones.
Yes.
So it is you to go out there and source for those ones that are, you know, selling properties, or it is them to come to you as agents?
Where we are right now, it is it is now them looking for us at this stage.
How long have you been in existence?
This is our 7th year.
Oh, 7th year, quite
a long time.
Quite
yes.
a long time.
Yes.
In all these years, which was the easiest of years, and what really was being done different that we might need to have in future? Because you say as time goes by, things are becoming hard.
Things are becoming hard, yes. The easiest of period was like just before COVID. Just before COVID, things were, the properties had, people have really understood real estate, so that if you want to buy a property, you are coming to our office already made up your mind.
Yeah.
I want a property in a specific area, and this is the budget I'm working with.
Yeah.
Because have been sensitizing with the social media and everything, that there is areas which you can buy at this price. So even if when a client is calling you, or he already knows where the budget fall at.
Yes.
So it becomes so easy for us to make the sale, because already you know my budget can fit specific area. So it won't be so hard for you to convince you to buy a certain area instead of this area.
Okay.
Already made up your mind.
Right.
And like now, the market have opened a bit, so people have choices. People have choices. So it will become so hard a bit for me to convince you not to go to Roy, you go to Nanyuki. So, because the prices are like the same in both of the areas now.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the importance of involving an agent? For instance, because even when you're going to rent, sometimes you're told that, you know, you're just renting an apartment to stay in. You're always told, after wale agents wa hii area, they understand more. They will take you to the right places. They will bargain on your behalf and all that.
Sure.
But there are people who have a feeling that agents can be a little bit slippery. There are people who have a feeling that agents can be a little bit expensive. If you're lucky enough to get a formidable, a person that you can trust, an agency that you can trust, how important would it be for one to work with this one, especially when it comes to the question of buying property? Because many tend to say that I can take myself to on location and deal with the seller one-on-one.
Yes.
How important is it to involve an agent?
It's very important to involve an agent, and I would advise all buyers to involve an agent, a trusted agent, when they are buying their property.
Yeah.
One, it will make it so easy for you to identify the property. That is one.
Right.
Secondly, agents tend to know more about the property than you as an individual. Because this is a new place you have gone to, you have never been here, then you are going to engage in a transaction of a person you have never met. and you don't really know the genuinity of the property. So an agent comes in when he wants to authenticate really this property is right.
Yeah.
And you're able to ask so many questions to the agent, unlike what you can ask the seller. Because the seller, if he is not a straightforward seller, he will tell you what he think will favor you. Unlike the agent would want, we need business for tomorrow.
Right.
So I'll try my level best to give you the best information and to advise you on the best way to go about it. Yes.
All right. Is it affordable dealing with an agent if you look at the whole process in the long run, or it is extremely expensive?
You can look at both ways. It can be, if you look at, if you see it is expensive, what are you looking at? The money or the amount of money you're investing buying this property.
Right.
It's a lot of money. So if you, the small cost that the agent you take, it can compare with the money you are going to lose if you if in case you buy a bad property which is not genuine.
Right.
So you can say it is expensive, and also it is not cheap.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So once again, how do we get a hold of you? Where are you situated? What is it that one expects in the event that they match into your entity in terms of getting quality service and in terms of being guided proper and exactly what it is that is in this very space that is specific to their need? Okay.
Our offices, as I mentioned, our offices at Kilimani on Marcus Garvey Road, Marcus Garden Apartments. You can get us on Facebook at Fanik Villa Properties. We are also, we have a website at Fanik Villa Properties, www.fanikvillaproperties.co.ke.
Yeah.
We are also on Instagram at Fanik Villa Properties, and you can contact us through our office line 0728 072 090. The line is, you can get us anytime.
Anytime you're open.
Anytime.
All right. Do you accord these services across the country, or you are stationed in Nairobi for now?
We do it across the country, but mostly Nairobi is our
main
hub.
Is your hub.
Yes.
All right. Well,
but we are open to sell property anywhere in the country.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Sawa. Unless you have anything else to add, I think it's exactly 1 minute to 9 a.m. And on this very moment, then I would ably close it. You have anything to add?
Just encourage our viewers to contact us, look for us. We advise you how to buy or rent or allot out your properties. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Francis Mbuthia. You know, they say that it appears like it's an expensive affair when you have agents, managing some of these things for you. But when you look at the bigger picture, you realize that you'll have saved cost so much. So much. It is him who's going to go and do the due diligence. It is him who's going to go and move around, make sure that they get you the right property that would fit your needs, that would fit your pocket. Most importantly, they would get you to individuals or to property owners that you can trust.
Sure.
I think that is the biggest fear today. If you are looking to own property, if you are looking to rent property for whatever reasons, so you always want that one person who goes out of their way to do the homework for you. And in the long run, as you make these payments, you realize that it was worth a deal. So why don't you check the Fanik Villa Properties out and see what they have in store for you. Francis Mbuthia, the CEO, Fanik Villa Properties, as he has said, and as well presented their numbers. Asante sana for speaking to us this morning and for the great insights.
Thank you.
As we look forward to have more conversations as to the world of investment, and especially this line of real estate and land investment, property investment. We take a quick short breather, and then we come back with Matters Health as we get to understand the pelvic floor and how we get it in order.